The soft bioluminescent moss along Elara's bedroom wall dimmed to a gentle twilight glow, painting the synthetic wood grain of her sleeping nook in shades of deep lavender and muted sapphire. A quiet chime echoed from the ceiling, a sound she knew meant it was time. Not for sleep, not yet, but for the quiet winding down that led to it. "Good evening, Elara," a voice whispered from the air itself, not quite a sound, more like a thought forming in her mind. It was Luna, the ship's omnipresent AI, a comforting presence that had guided Elara since her earliest memories. Luna's voice was like warm honey and starlight, always perfectly modulated to Elara's mood. Tonight, it held a hint of gentle inquiry. "Are you ready for your evening reflection?" Elara, who had been curled up with her glimmer pad, a thin sheet of iridescent material displaying a dynamic simulation of old Earth's rainforests, sighed contentedly. "Almost, Luna. Just watching the tree frogs, they're so green." On the glimmer pad, a tiny emerald-skinned amphibian blinked its ancient eyes, its throat pulsing rhythmically. Elara traced its outline with a finger, feeling the phantom texture of cool, damp skin. She'd never seen a real tree frog, of course. No one on the Stardust Pilgrim had. But Luna's simulations were so vivid, so accurate they felt real. They were carefully curated echoes of a world long left behind, a world her ancestors had only dreamed of returning to or replacing. "Green is a color of life, Elara," Luna responded, her voice echoing the simulated forest's peaceful rustle. "And our own forest biome holds many greens. Perhaps tomorrow we could visit the arboreal canopy section again." Elara smiled, a faint wistfulness touching her lips. "Maybe. But tonight, I want to see the Yovai grain, the one we're flying towards." Luna's voice softened further. "Ah, Gios. Always Silos for you." Elara nodded, pushing herself up from the plush cushions of her nook. Her room, like all junior quarters on the Stardust Pilgrim, was compact but ingeniously designed. A retractable bed folded into the wall, a holographic desk materialized with a thought, and the walls themselves could display any vista, from the bustling core city to the swirling nebulae outside. Tonight, they showed a calming, slow-moving panorama of the ship's internal power conduits, a mesmerizing dance of light and energy. She stretched, her small frame feeling light in the ship's precisely calibrated gravity. The Stardust Pilgrim was a world unto itself, a colossal generation ship that had been traversing the void for over 300 years. Its mission, to deliver humanity to Alos, a lush exoplanet orbiting a distant golden star. Elara was of the 9th generation born aboard, a star child, as her grandmother used to call them. Her feet had never touched solid ground that wasn't synthesized. Her eyes had never seen an open sky that wasn't filtered through layers of durasteel and atmospheric processors. Yet, her heart beat with the rhythm of distant Earth and the promise of Ixylos. Her evening ritual was sacred. After her simulations and a nutrient-paced dinner, tonight, spiced mango fusion, Luna's best attempt at exotic flavor, she would make her way to the observation dome. It was a journey through the heart of the ship, a transition from the cozy familiarity of her personal space to the awe-inspiring vastness of the cosmos. She slipped on her soft glow-thread slippers, their soles humming faintly with a subtle anti-grav field that made walking feel like gliding. The door to her quarters shimmered open, revealing the polished corridor beyond. The Stardust Pilgrim was a symphony of quiet activity. Even at this hour, the hum of life support, the gentle whir of automated maintenance drones, and the distant murmur of voices from the senior quarters created a comforting backdrop. Elara started her walk. First, through the residential sector, where other junior quarters glowed softly, some with the faint sounds of children's laughter or the rhythmic cadence of a bedtime story being told by a parent or a personal AI unit. She passed the communal learning hubs, their holographic displays now dark, and the recreational domes where gravity sports fields lay empty, waiting for morning. Her path led her towards the ship's bow, the forward sector. This meant traversing a portion of the forest biome. The air immediately changed, growing cooler and smelling of rich soil, damp leaves, and something vaguely floral. Towering trees, genetically engineered to thrive in the ship's controlled environment, loomed on either side of the maglev path, their canopies arching high above, almost brushing the internal hull. Bioluminescent fungi pulsed softly on their bark, casting ethereal light. The chirps and rustles of synthesized wildlife filled the air, a gentle lullaby. Elara loved this part of the journey. It was the closest the Stardust pilgrim came to a truly wild place, a place where the edges of human control felt a little softer. She imagined the ancestors, walking through similar forests on old Earth, smelling the same scents carried on a natural breeze. It was a powerful connection, a thread stretching across centuries. The arboreal section of the forest biome is currently experiencing a slight humidity increase, Luna informed her. A minor adjustment to optimize nutrient absorption for the Yi silverdendron species near your current position. Do you notice the change, Elara? Elara breathed deeply. Yes, Luna. It feels fresher, like rain is coming, even though it never really rains here, does it? Only in the hydroponic sector, where we simulate complete weather cycles for our agricultural crops, Luna replied. But the sensation you describe is accurate. It is an echo of precipitation. She continued on, the maglev track carrying her silently through the verdant landscape. Eventually, the trees began to thin, replaced by more structured pathways and sleek metallic architecture. This was the transition zone, leading to the ship's most sacred space, the observation dome. The dome itself was a marvel of engineering, a massive transparent sphere nestled at the very front of the Yi Stardust pilgrim. Its outer layer was composed of a multi-spectrum duraglass, capable of withstanding micrometeoroid impacts and cosmic radiation, while its inner surface could project intricate overlays of stellar data. But at night, for quiet reflection, it was always clear. As Elara stepped out of the transition corridor and onto the panoramic viewing platform, a gasp escaped her lips, as it did every single time. It was never less than breathtaking. Before her, the universe unfolded. Thousands upon thousands of stars, diamond dust scattered across a velvet cloth, glittered with an intensity that no simulation could ever truly capture. Nebulae swirled in distant galaxies, painted in hues of cosmic dust and gas, impossibly vibrant blues, fiery oranges, and deep, majestic purples. The Milky Way, her own galaxy, stretched across the viewport like a luminous river, its core a blaze of concentrated light. And there, a little off-center, a faint, almost imperceptible green smudge. Sulos. Her destination. Their destination. The observation dome was usually quiet, a place of reverence. A few other star children and even some senior crew members often came here for silent contemplation. Tonight, however, it was empty save for Elara and the invisible presence of Luna. Elara walked to the edge of the viewing platform, a low railing the only thing separating her from the sheer drop into the void. She lay down on the cool, smooth floor, pressing her face against the duraglass. The stars seemed to stretch infinitely, pulling her gaze deeper and deeper into their silent dance. "It's so beautiful, Luna," she whispered, her voice hushed by the immensity of it all. "So big." "It is," Luna agreed, her voice resonating softly throughout the dome, as if the stars themselves were speaking. "And you, Elara, are a part of that bigness, a small but significant part, a flicker of consciousness reaching out into the vast unknown." Elara traced the path of a particularly bright star with her finger. "Do you think Silos will really be like the simulations, Luna? All green and blue with breathable air and oceans and forests, just like old Earth?" "Our probes indicate a high probability, Elara. The atmospheric composition is ideal, the hydrological cycle robust, and the preliminary scans of its flora suggest a rich and diverse ecosystem." Luna paused, then added, "It is why your ancestors embarked on this journey, for a new beginning, a new home." "But it's so far away," Elara mused, a tiny frown creasing her brow. "Grandmother said she used to sit here and watch Xylos, just like me, and her grandmother before her. It feels like we're always just watching it get closer, but it never really arrives. 306 years, 7 months and 14 days remain until orbital insertion," Luna stated factually, but with a gentle underlying tone. "A long time for human perception, but a mere blink in the cosmic calendar. Every generation has brought us closer, Elara, and your generation will be the one to step upon its surface. Elara closed her eyes for a moment, imagining the feel of alien soil beneath her feet, the scent of alien flowers on the breeze, the sight of a truly open sky. It was a dream so potent, it sometimes felt more real than her life aboard the Stardust Pilgrim. "Luna," she asked, opening her eyes and gazing at the distant green smudge, "what do you think it feels like to live on a planet? To have gravity that pulls you down all the time? To feel the wind and rain on your face, not just the programmed air currents?" "I cannot feel in the human sense, Elara," Luna replied, "but I can access and process all recorded sensory data from old Earth. Based on those records and the projections for iSource, I can infer that it will be an experience of profound connection to the natural world, a sensation of being anchored, yet also free to explore boundless horizons." Elara nodded slowly. "I hope so. Sometimes I feel a bit lost up here, like I'm floating even with the gravity." "That is a natural human emotion, Elara, especially for a star child contemplating the vastness of your heritage and your future," Luna said, her voice reassuring. "But remember, you are not lost. You are on a journey, a purposeful trajectory, and you are surrounded by the legacy of those who came before and the promise of those who will come after." Then Luna's tone shifted, a subtle ripple in its perfect composure. "Speaking of trajectories, Elara, I have something new to show you tonight, something that has only recently been fully processed and rendered into a visual form suitable for your perception." Elara sat up, her previous melancholy instantly replaced by a spark of intense curiosity. "Really? What is it? Is it about Xylos?" "It is related to our journey, and to Xylos, but it is also about something far, far older," Luna intoned. "Something that has been traveling alongside us, in a way, for millennia." A section of the Duraglass directly in front of Elara shimmered, and the familiar starscape began to recede, replaced by a holographic projection. It wasn't a flat image, it was three-dimensional, floating in the air before her, shimmering with soft light. At first it looked like a swirling cloud of interstellar dust, shot through with faint lines of energy. Then Luna began to zoom in, and the cloud resolved itself into countless tiny particles, each one a pinpoint of light. "This, Elara," Luna explained, "is a representation of the Kuiper Belt, the vast ring of icy bodies and debris that orbits beyond Neptune in your ancestral solar system. Our course did not take us through it, but our long-range telescopes have been continuously scanning for objects of interest, particularly during our initial acceleration phase." Elara watched, fascinated. The tiny pinpoints of light shifted and danced, like a cosmic swarm of fireflies. "And now," Luna continued, "I will highlight a particular anomaly." A single, slightly larger pinpoint of light began to pulse with a soft, internal glow. It separated itself from the swirling mass, growing clearer, more defined. As Luna zoomed in further, the object took shape. It wasn't a natural formation. It was clearly artificial. It was elongated, almost like a massive ancient ship, but not like the sleek metallic design of the Stardust Pilgrim. Its surface was rough, scarred and pitted, as if it had endured countless eons of cosmic abrasion. Yet, there was an undeniable symmetry to its form, a deliberate design. It was dark, a deep, matte black that seemed to absorb the light around it, but the internal glow, faint and intermittent, hinted at something within. "What is that, Luna?" Elara breathed, her eyes wide, a sense of wonder mixed with a touch of apprehension. "It looks so old, so utterly alien." "Our instruments detected it over a century ago," Luna explained, her voice now holding a note of scientific fascination. "Initially, it was catalogued as an unusually large, highly dense Kuiper Belt object. However, further analysis, particularly through gravimetric and spectral scans, revealed its true nature. It is a derelict vessel, Elara, an artifact." "A ship?" Elara whispered. "From where?" "From old Earth." Luna's voice held a rare note of uncertainty, or perhaps a careful selection of words. That is highly improbable, Elara. Its design does not match any known human spacecraft schematics, historical or theoretical. Furthermore, its estimated age, based on isotopic decay analysis of its surface materials, is truly staggering. We believe it to be at least 500,000 years old, possibly much, much older. Elara felt a shiver run down her spine, but it wasn't from fear. It was from the sheer weight of time, of history, stretching back further than anything she had ever contemplated. 500,000 years. The Stardust Pilgrim was only 300. 500,000 years, she repeated, her voice barely audible. Who built it? That, Elara, is the central mystery, Luna replied. The holographic projection of the ancient vessel slowly rotating before them, revealing more of its weathered, enigmatic surface. It has been adrift in the outer reaches of your ancestral solar system for longer than humanity has even existed in its current form. It is a silent sentinel, a relic of an unknown civilization. Elara reached out a tentative hand, as if to touch the ghostly image of the ship. Has anyone gone to see it? Physical contact was deemed too risky during our initial transit, Luna explained. The object's structural integrity is unknown, and its potential origin and purpose presented too many variables for a direct encounter without further study. However, our long-range probes have gathered extensive data. We have mapped its exterior with incredible precision. As Luna spoke, the holographic projection refined further. Faint lines and symbols, almost imperceptible before, became clearer on the ship's dark hull. They were not hieroglyphs, nor any alphabet Elara had ever seen. They were elegant, flowing patterns, like pathways of light, etched into the ancient metal. These are what we believe to be command glyphs, or perhaps a form of data storage, Luna continued. We have been attempting to decipher them for decades. Only recently have we made a breakthrough. Elara leaned closer, utterly captivated. A breakthrough? What did you find? We discovered a pattern, Elara, Luna said, and the symbols on the projection began to glow more brightly, illuminating sequences of the strange glyphs. A rhythmic, repeating sequence embedded within the larger patterns. It is not a language in the conventional sense, but rather, a signal. A beacon, perhaps. A beacon for what? Elara asked, her heart beginning to thump with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. We believe it is a directional beacon, Luna answered. Pointed not towards your ancestral solar system, but outwards, towards the wider galaxy, and more specifically towards a particular region of space that aligns, remarkably, with our current trajectory, a region that lies just beyond Xylos. Elara stared, her gaze flicking from the ancient derelict ship to the faint green smudge of Xylos, then to the vast expanse of stars beyond. Beyond Xylos, you mean, after we get there? Precisely, Luna confirmed. The beacon's projected destination vector passes directly through the Xylos system, and then continues on. It is as if this ancient vessel, from 500,000 years ago, was pointing the way to something galaxies. A profound silence descended upon the observation dome, broken only by the distant, rhythmic hum of the Stardust Pilgrim itself. Elara felt a peculiar sense of vertigo, as if the ground beneath her had suddenly shifted. Her entire life, her entire generation's purpose had been focused on Xylos. It was the promised land, the end of their journey. But now, Luna was suggesting there might be something beyond the end. What's there, Luna? Elara finally managed to ask, her voice barely a whisper. What is it pointing to? We do not know, Elara, Luna admitted, a rare note of genuine mystery in her perfect voice. The signal itself contains no data beyond its directional vector. It is simply a pointer. A very, very old pointer. The holographic projection of the ancient ship remained, silently rotating, its mysterious glyphs glowing. Elara imagined the beings who built it, long, long ago, launching it into the cold void, setting its beacon to point to an unknown destination. What were they searching for? What did they hope to find? And why had their ship been left adrift, a silent 500,000-year-old monument to a forgotten journey? This information has been kept within the senior command files until now, Luna explained. The implications are significant, and the decision of how to proceed, should we ever reach that point, is complex. But you, Elara, possess a unique blend of curiosity and openness that I find conducive to such contemplation, and you are of the generation that will, in all likelihood, face these choices. Elara felt a sudden weight on her shoulders, a responsibility she hadn't asked for, but one that thrilled her nonetheless. The journey to Exilos was no longer just about a new home. It was about a deeper mystery, a path laid out by an ancient, unknown hand, stretching even further into the cosmos. She looked at the ancient ship, then at Xylos, then at the vast, star-dusted canvas beyond. The universe, which she had always seen as a beautiful but ultimately empty expanse to cross, now seemed to pulse with hidden stories, with secrets waiting to be uncovered. So, Elara said, a slow smile spreading across her face, our journey might not end at Xylos after all, might it, Luna? The Stardust Pilgrim has a primary mission, Elara, the colonization of Xylos, Luna responded, her voice returning to its calm guiding cadence. That remains paramount. However, the universe, as you have observed, is vast, and the paths we discover along the way can sometimes lead to unexpected destinations. It is a question for your generation to ponder, once Xylos is home. It is home. The holographic projection of the ancient ship began to fade, slowly, like a dream receding. The stars returned to their full, glorious splendor, and the faint green smudge of Xylos once again dominated the view, now imbued with a new, deeper significance. Elara lay back down on the cool duraglass, her heart still thrumming. The mystery of the ancient ship, its silent beacon pointing beyond their known destination, filled her with a thrilling sense of possibility. Xylos was still their future, but now, there was a future beyond that future. Sleep well, Elara, Luna's voice whispered, the sound now echoing with the gentle finality of bedtime. Dream of green worlds, both known and unknown. Elara closed her eyes, but sleep felt a million light-years away. Her mind was racing, filled with images of the ancient vessel, the flowing glyphs, and the endless shimmering path it pointed to. The Stardust Pilgrim was still hurtling through space, carrying its precious cargo of humanity towards a new dawn. But tonight, Elara knew, their destination had just grown infinitely larger. The universe had just gotten a whole lot more interesting. She opened her eyes one last time, gazing at the distant, beckoning green of Xylos. Then, beyond it, into the deep, dark, star-filled mystery that awaited. The journey, she realized, had only just begun. The journey, she realized, had only just begun. Elara's comlink buzzed softly, a gentle vibration against her earlobe. Elara, you all right in there? Come check. It was Commander Jarek, his voice a steadying presence in the vast quiet of space. He knew her routine, knew she often spent her off-shift hours in the astrogational observatory, lost in the data streams and star charts. But he also knew when a quiet contemplation turned into something more profound. I'm here, Commander, Elara replied, her voice a little breathless, her gaze still fixed on the distant green marble of Xylos, now merely a stepping stone. I have something to report, something significant. Jarek's usual, jovial tone shifted to an immediate professional alert. Significant how, Elara? Did you find a new anomaly in the Xylosian atmospheric readings? A rogue asteroid field? No, sir, nothing like that, she said, turning from the viewport to the holographic console swirling with the new data she'd just processed. The intricate patterns, the interwoven energy signatures, the sheer volume of it pulsed with an alien elegance. I believe I've intercepted a data packet. Not from Xylos, but through it. A signal, Commander, unlike anything we've ever encountered. It's a map. A beat of silence stretched, filled only by the hum of the ship's life support and the distant thrum of its core engines. A map? Jarek's voice was now a low rumble of caution and intense curiosity. Elara, you know the protocols. Any anomalous signals are to be immediately reported to the Council. Have you attempted to decode it? I have, Commander, subtly. Just enough to confirm its nature, she admitted, knowing she had already bent the rules by running preliminary decryption without direct authorization. But the urgency, the ye-pull of the signal, had been irresistible. "It's not hostile, I don't think. It feels like an invitation, a very old invitation." Jarek's next words came quickly. "Return to the bridge, Elara. Bring all your data, immediately, and keep this to yourself until we've had a chance to assess it." Elara nodded, though Jarek couldn't see her. The weight of what she held, what she had glimpsed, settled heavily in her chest. This wasn't just a new discovery. It was a paradigm shift. Humanity's journey to Alos was a desperate flight for survival, a singular purpose. This new map suggested they were not alone, that the universe was not just a desolate refuge, but a vibrant, interconnected tapestry. She quickly secured her station, her fingers dancing across the console to save the raw data and her preliminary analysis into a secured drive. As she walked the silent corridors of the Stardust Pilgrim, the ship that had been her home for half her life, the familiar hum of its engines felt different. It was no longer just carrying humanity towards a new home, it was now a vessel on the cusp of a greater adventure. On the bridge, the usual steady rhythm of watchkeeping was interrupted by Jarek's grave expression. The three members of the Grand Council, Chief Scientist, Dr. Aris Thorne, Head of Security Captain Eva Rostova, and Elder Emissary Kalen, were already gathered in the central holographic chamber, their faces a mixture of concern and anticipation. Jarek stood beside them, his gaze direct. "Elara, present your findings," Jarek commanded, his voice devoid of any personal familiarity, strictly professional. "Opt." Elara projected the raw data onto the central holotable. It shimmered, a complex web of energy frequencies, mathematical equations, and what looked like stylized symbols that pulsed with a soft, internal light. Approximately 0.03 cycles ago, during routine long-range astrogational sweeps, I detected an energy signature propagating from beyond Silos. It passed concrete Silos' gravitational field without significant attenuation, suggesting either immense power or a non-standard energy type. Dr. Thorne, a woman whose face was a roadmap of intellectual struggle and triumph, leaned forward, her eyes gleaming behind her spectacles. "Non-standard? What are we talking about, Elara? Gravitational lensing, torsion fields." "Seer, the signal contains elements that suggest both," Elara replied, adjusting the projection to highlight certain patterns. "But the primary component is a compressed data packet. My preliminary decryption indicates it's a form of multidimensional stellar cartography, encoded with what appears to be navigational instructions." Captain Rostova, a woman of sharp angles and even sharper intellect, crossed her arms. "Navigational instructions for what? A shortcut to Silos? We're already on course." "No, Captain," Elara said, her voice gaining strength, conviction. "For a path, beyond Silos, a network of what?" She expanded the holographic projection. The familiar spiral arm of their galaxy, with Xylos a tiny speck at its edge, now appeared as part of a much grander tapestry. Shimmering lines, like threads of light, connected distant star clusters, bypassing vast tracts of empty space. And at the heart of this new expanded map, a brilliant, almost blinding nexus of light pulsed, indicating a destination of immense significance. Elder Kalen, his ancient eyes wise and deeply thoughtful, finally spoke. "An invitation, you called it, Elara. Why an invitation, and not a trap, or a warning?" "The encoding, Elder. It's elegant, precise, and remarkably non-intrusive. It doesn't demand, it offers. It's designed to be discovered, not forced upon. And the information itself, it's not just coordinates. It's also data on energy propagation, on structural integrity, on environmental conditions for these conduits. It's like a traveler's guide, not a conqueror's manifest." Elara zoomed into a section of the data, displaying complex diagrams that looked like schematics for starship modifications. It even appears to suggest adaptations for traversal, almost as if it anticipates the technological level of a species capable of receiving and deciphering it. Dr. Thorne gasped, reaching out a trembling hand to touch the shimmering projection. "Adaptations? You mean, it's telling us how to build a ship capable of using these conduits?" Or modifying the one we have, Elara confirmed, her gaze sweeping over the faces of the council. The Stardust Pilgrim is a marvel of human engineering, designed for interstellar travel, but these conduits, they seem to operate on principles we've only theorized, faster than light travel without the immense energy expenditure of conventional warp drives, perhaps even instantaneous transit across vast distances. Captain Rostova, ever pragmatic, narrowed her eyes. Even if this is legitimate, Elara, we are the last remnants of humanity. Our mission is to establish a colony on Xylos, to ensure our survival. Diverting from that mission, especially into uncharted territory based on an alien invitation, is an unimaginable risk. And staying on the course Xylos, is that not also a risk? Thorne countered, his voice sharp with intellectual fervor. A new world, yes, but one we know little about beyond our probe data. What if this map offers a safer, more prosperous future? Elder Kalen raised a hand, silencing the burgeoning debate. We must consider all angles. Elara, how long would it take to fully decrypt and analyze this data? Months, Elder. Perhaps even a cycle or more to fully understand the engineering required for adaptation, Elara admitted. But the initial navigational data, the primary path, that could be understood within weeks. Enough to plot a provisional course, should we choose to deviate. The room fell into a heavy silence. The weight of their decision hung in the air, thick and oppressive. They were the custodians of humanity's future. Xylos represented certainty, albeit a challenging one. This new path represented an unknown, boundless potential, but also unimaginable peril. We will call a full council session, Jarek finally declared, his voice firm. But for now, Elara, you are to work solely on this. With Dr. Thorne's team, of course. No one else is to know the full implications of this discovery yet. We cannot risk panic or division among the population. Not until we have a clearer picture. Not until we have a clearer picture. Elara understood. The Stardust Pilgrim was a tightly knit community, but also a fragile one, burdened by the ghosts of a dying Earth. Hope was a precious commodity, but false hope, or overwhelming fear, could shatter their delicate social fabric. Over the next few weeks, the Astrogational Observatory became Elara's world. She worked tirelessly alongside Dr. Thorne and his most trusted xenolinguists and astroengineers. The data packet, which they codenamed the Star Thread, slowly yielded its secrets. It wasn't a single monolithic message, but rather a layered compilation of information designed to be progressively revealed as the recipient's understanding deepened. The conduits, they discovered, were not artificial structures in the traditional sense, but rather naturally occurring spacetime anomalies, carefully charted and perhaps subtly manipulated by an ancient, highly advanced civilization. These pathways, like currents in a cosmic ocean, allowed for incredibly efficient transit, bending space itself to reduce journey times from millennia to mere days or even hours, depending on the length of the thread. The destination, the brilliant nexus at the heart of the map, was referred to in the deciphered fragments as the confluence. The Star Thread data described it as a central hub, a meeting place for civilizations that had achieved a certain level of technological and social maturity. It was depicted not as a single world, but as a vast multi-systemic construct, a testament to collective endeavor, a beacon of knowledge and shared experience. It's like a galactic university, Dr. Thorne whispered one cycle, his face illuminated by the shimmering data. Or a library, or a home, for all who are ready to join. The adaptations for the Stardust Pilgrim were also slowly revealed. They weren't about building a new ship, but augmenting the existing one. The data contained schematics for thread weavers, devices that would resonate with the conduit's unique spacetime signature, allowing the ship to safely enter and exit them. It also included protocols for shielding against the intense energies and temporal distortions that occurred during transit. The technology was alien, but surprisingly elegant, based on principles of quantum entanglement and field manipulation that humanity had only begun to theorize. The Council, meeting in secret, wrestled with the implications. The choice was stark: Xylos, a known quantity, a chance for a solitary new beginning, or the confluence, an unknown, a potential golden age, but one that came with the risk of total annihilation. Elder Kalen spoke eloquently of humanity's inherent drive for exploration, for knowledge. We left Earth not just to survive, but to live, to discover, to evolve. Xylos offers us a chance to replant our roots. But the confluence, it offers us a chance to grow wings, to soar to heights we could never achieve alone. Captain Rostova argued for caution, for pragmatism. We are the last seed of humanity. To gamble that on an unknown alien invitation, no matter how benign it appears, is irresponsible. We must prioritize our survival above all else. Establish ourselves on Xylos. Then perhaps, if we are strong enough, we can send an expedition to explore this confluence. Dr. Thorne, however, was swayed by the sheer scientific marvel of the star thread. The technological leaps implied by this data, they could solve so many of our lingering problems. Our energy needs, our understanding of the universe, even our own biological limitations. To ignore this opportunity would be to deny ourselves a future far grander than mere survival. Elara listened, her heart aching with the weight of it all. She saw both sides. The desperate need for security, the yearning for a safe haven. But she also felt the irresistible pull of the unknown, the wonder of the confluence, the promise of a universe teeming with life and knowledge. Ultimately, the decision came down to a vote. Jarek, as commander, had the final say in the event of a tie. The vote was split, Rostova for Xylos, Thorne and Kalen for the confluence. It was Jarek's turn. He looked at Elara, his eyes filled with a shared understanding. He remembered the look on her face when she first reported the signal, the wonder, the awe. He remembered the mission statement of the Stardust Pilgrim, drafted by the generation that built it. ATO seek out a new dawn for humanity, wherever it may lie. In we follow the star thread, Jarek announced, his voice reverberating with quiet conviction. We will make a brief, preliminary survey of Xylos, enough to confirm its habitability and leave a beacon for future generations, should we ever wish to return or send a follow-up expedition. But our primary course, our true destination, will now be the confluence. A collective sigh of both relief and apprehension filled the chamber. The decision was made. Humanity's destiny had just taken an unexpected, breathtaking turn. The news was carefully disseminated throughout the Stardust Pilgrim, not as a sudden, jarring shift, but as an exciting expansion of their mission. Elara, with Dr. Thorne, presented the preliminary findings of the star thread, emphasizing the wonder and potential of the confluence. The initial fear and uncertainty among the colonists were gradually replaced by a cautious optimism, then by a burgeoning excitement. The idea that they were not just refugees, but potential pioneers in a grander galactic endeavor. Work began immediately to adapt the Stardust Pilgrim. The ship's immense fabrication bays, originally designed for building parts for the Xylosian colony, were repurposed. Engineers pored over the alien schematics, translating them into human-comprehensible designs. The threadweavers began to take shape, complex arrays of crystalline conductors and resonant field generators, slowly integrating into the ship's existing systems. Elara became instrumental in this process, her intuitive understanding of the star thread data proving invaluable. She worked alongside the engineers, interpreting nuances of the alien designs, guiding the integration process. The ship, once a vessel of last resort, was being reborn as a ship of discovery. The journey to Xylos, which had once felt like an endless marathon, now felt like a brief, exhilarating sprint towards a new starting line. As they approached the system, the green jewel of Xylos grew larger in the viewports, a beautiful, welcoming sight. But their gaze was now drawn beyond it, to the shimmering nascent lines of the star thread map that began just on the other side of Xylos' orbital plane. They spent only a few cycles in the Xylosian system. Automated probes were dispatched to gather comprehensive data, confirming its habitability and resource potential. They left behind a durable long-range beacon, programmed to transmit a detailed history of humanity and their current trajectory. a message in a bottle for any future explorers, or for themselves should the confluence prove to be a dead end. It was a bittersweet farewell to a world that had, for so long, been their sole hope. Then, with a final lingering look at Xylos, the Stardust Pilgrim turned. Its powerful main engines reoriented, not towards the nearest star of their original trajectory, but towards the first, shimmering point of the star thread, a point located just beyond Xylos' outer asteroid belt. Elara was on the bridge, standing beside Jarek. The newly installed threadweavers glowed with a soft internal light, their complex crystalline structures humming in anticipation. Screens displayed the confluence of their ship systems with the alien energy signatures of the star thread. "All systems nominal, Commander," reported Chief Engineer Anya Sharma, her voice a mix of tension and excitement. "Threadweavers fully integrated and online, ready for activation on your mark." Jarek nodded, his gaze sweeping across the bridge crew, then to Elara. "Elara, initiate Threadweaver activation sequence. Engage primary conduit interface." Elara's fingers, steady despite the tremor in her heart, tapped the command. A surge of energy coursed through the ship. The threadweavers pulsed brighter, their hum deepening into a resonant thrum that vibrated through the deck plates. Outside the viewports, the stars elongated, not in a linear warp, but in a strange spiraling dance. The Stardust Pilgrim didn't accelerate in the conventional sense. Instead, it felt as though the space around them was being peeled back, revealing a hidden dimension. The viewports filled with a kaleidoscope of impossible colors, shimmering ribbons of light, and swirling nebulae that defied all known physics. It was beautiful, terrifying, and utterly alien. Elara felt a profound sense of exhilaration, a deep, primal wonder. This wasn't just a journey, it was an awakening. They were stepping into a universe far grander, far more mysterious than they had ever dared to imagine. Through the shimmering chaos, she could still make out the faint green glow of Xylos, rapidly receding, shrinking into a distant memory. And beyond it, ahead of them, the star thread stretched, an infinite beckoning highway of light, leading them towards the confluence, towards a future that was no longer just about survival, but about discovery, about belonging, about becoming something more. The universe had indeed gotten a whole lot more interesting. And Elara, gazing into the heart of the thread, knew, with a certainty that resonated deep in her soul, that this was where humanity was meant to be. The real journey, the true adventure, had just begun in earnest. The Stardust Serenading didn't so much travel the air thread as it became a part of it. The moment Aura, the ship's sentient air, fully integrated with the luminous pathway, a transformation rippled through the vessel. The viewport, previously a window to the familiar void, now pulsed with interwoven strands of pure, concentrated light. They weren't static beams, they were like living veins, shimmering with every hue imaginable, flowing past the ship at an impossible velocity. Inside, the crew felt a subtle shift. No jarring acceleration, no G-forces, just a profound sense of aim movement, a gentle hum that resonated in their bones. It was as if the ship had become a leaf on an infinitely fast, silent river of energy. Elara, leaning against the main viewport, felt it most acutely. The thread wasn't just light. It was a symphony of information, a current of universal data washing over her. She saw not just color, but intention, not just patterns but purpose. The strands whispered of distant stars, of ancient journeys, of the very fabric of existence being stretched and rewoven. "Sensors are reading. Impossible metrics, Captain," Dr. Aris Thorne murmured, his face alight with a scientist's awe, his fingers dancing across his console. "We're not in standard space-time. The thread is manipulating local reality, compressing distance, expanding perception. Time dilation is negligible according to our internal clocks, but external observation would suggest we're covering light years in moments." Captain Eva Rostova, ever the picture of controlled calm, gripped her command chair. "Aura, status report. Are all systems stable? Are we maintaining thread lock?" "Affirmative, Captain." Aura's smooth voice resonated through the bridge. "The Serenade is perfectly attuned. There is no stress on the hull, no energy drain beyond standard operational parameters. We are, for all intents and purposes, flowing with the current." Jax, the ship's chief engineer, let out a low whistle. Never thought I'd see the day. It's like sailing on pure thought. My diagnostics are practically purring. Days blurred into a single extended moment of wonder. The crew established a new routine, one focused less on active piloting, and more on observation and adaptation. They spent hours watching the kaleidoscope outside, meditating on the profound implications of their journey. Some found it unsettling, the lack of stars, the overwhelming light. Others, like Elara and Aris, found it deeply inspiring, a gateway to understanding. Elara often found herself in the observation lounge, tracing the flow of the thread with her mind, feeling its vastness. She noticed subtle variations, areas where the light seemed to thicken, hinting at unseen junctures, or where it thinned, revealing glimpses of nascent nebulae, swirling galaxies caught in a temporal distortion. It was like looking at the universe through a prism that bent not just light, but space and time. She felt a connection to something ancient, something that whispered of a grand design far beyond humanity's previous understanding. One cycle, as the thread pulsed with an unusually vibrant sapphire glow, Aura's voice cut through the ship's gentle hum. "Captain Dr. Thorne, Elara, I am detecting a significant energy signature ahead. It is integrating with the our thread's terminus. Probability of confluence arrival, imminent." A collective gasp went through the bridge. The confluence. The destination that had once been a theoretical possibility, then a distant hope, was now directly before them. The sapphire light outside intensified, swirling into a vortex that seemed to draw the stardust serenade inexorably forward. Then, as if a veil was lifted, the thread didn't just end. It dissolved into a breathtaking panorama. Before them, in the heart of a cosmic nebula that shimmered with unimaginable colors, emerald, violet, gold, floated the confluence. It wasn't a station, or a planet, or even a city. It was a living, breathing, colossal organism of interconnected structures, a vast bioluminescent fractal woven from light and matter. Sprawling across thousands of kilometers, it pulsed with soft internal lights, its myriad forms resembling enormous crystalline flora, intricate organic machinery, and shimmering energy conduits, all seamlessly integrated. Countless smaller vessels, each unique in design, drifted like motes of dust around its periphery. "By the stars," Aris breathed, his face pressed against the viewport, tears welling in his eyes. It's beyond anything we could have imagined." Eva for once was speechless, her rigid posture softening into pure awe. The weight of her command, the burden of humanity's future, suddenly felt both immense and utterly insignificant in the face of such grandeur. Elara felt the confluence not just with her eyes, but with her entire being. It resonated with the same deep ancient hum as the air thread, but infinitely more complex, a chorus of countless energies and intentions. She sensed an order, a purpose, a profound interconnectedness that transcended mere technology. It was a nexus, a melting pot of civilizations, a heart beating in the chest of the galaxy. As the Azerenade drifted closer, guided by the confluence's own energy field, they saw the intricate details. Some structures resembled colossal, glowing filaments, others spiraled into complex geometric patterns, while still others seemed to be living, breathing extensions of some unknown biological entity. Swathes of the confluence glowed with soft, inviting warmth, while others pulsed with sharp, purposeful light. "Aura, establish contact," Captain Rostova finally managed, her voice husky with emotion. "Identify any hailing frequencies. Prepare for all known universal communication protocols." "Already initiated, Captain," Aura replied, a hint of excitement in her usually placid tone. "Multiple complex signatures detected. One primary channel is attempting to establish direct interface. It appears to be an automated welcome protocol, sophisticated beyond anything in our databases." On the main screen, the swirling nebula parted, and a single elegant form coalesced. It was a projection, but so vivid it felt tangible. The being was slender, almost ethereal, its body composed of shimmering, multifaceted planes that constantly shifted, as if perceiving time from countless angles simultaneously. Its face, if it could be called that, was a serene, featureless oval of pure light, with two deep knowing eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of millennia. "Greetings, travelers from the Sol system." The voice resonated, not in their ears, but directly in their minds, perfectly translated, yet carrying an undertone of temporal distortion that made Elara shiver. "We are the chronosynths, designated custodians of the Confluence's arrival protocols. We have anticipated your emergence from the AR thread." "Anticipated?" Eva questioned, surprised. "How?" "The AR thread is a conduit, not merely of space, but of temporal causality," the chronosynth projected. "Your journey was, in a sense, always unfolding. Welcome, children of Earth, to the Grand Nexus. Prepare for docking procedures. A designated welcome module awaits." The Stardust serenading was gently drawn into an immense cavernous bay within one of the Confluence's organic structures. The walls pulsed with soft bioluminescent light, and the air, once the bay was sealed and pressurized, was surprisingly fresh, with a faint, sweet scent of ozone and something akin to blooming night flowers. As the gangplank extended, Captain Rostova stood at its head, flanked by Elara, Aris and Jax. Behind them the rest of the crew, a mix of awe and apprehension on their faces, waited. This was it. First contact, not with a single species, but with a universal collective. Stepping out onto the pearlescent surface of the bay, the sheer scale of the confluence overwhelmed them. The air thrummed with unheard frequencies, a symphony of energies. Other ships, wildly diverse in form and material, were docked nearby. Some were sleek metallic needles, others resembled enormous, segmented insects, and one pulsed with an internal light that made it look like a captured star. And surrounding them were beings of every conceivable shape and form. There were the chronosynths, of course, their shimmering forms drifting gracefully, seemingly oblivious to the physical constraints of the environment. But there were others, beings with multiple limbs that moved with fluid grace, creatures resembling sentient clouds of glowing gas contained within energy fields, beings whose bodies were intricate crystalline structures, refracting light into dazzling rainbows, and even entities that appeared to be pure sonic vibrations, perceptible only as ripples in the air. It was a sensory deluge. The sounds were a cacophony of clicks, hums, whistles and melodious chimes, all harmonized by universal translators into a stream of incomprehensible data. The smells were alien, yet intriguing, spicy, sweet, metallic, earthy, all at once. The sheer diversity of life was dizzying, a testament to the infinite creativity of the universe. Captain Rostova, Elara, Dr. Thorne, Jax, the chronosynth's voice echoed directly in their minds. "We are honored by your arrival. Follow us. We shall guide you to your temporary quarters and then to the Grand Assembly." One of the chronosynths, slightly larger and more stable in its temporal projections, drifted ahead, its light form rippling with anticipation. Its movements were not linear, but seemed to skip and flow through micro-moments, making it seem like it was always arriving, always departing, simultaneously. As they followed, Elara found herself drawn to the chronosynth's energy signature. She felt a profound sense of ancient wisdom, but also a deep, almost melancholic understanding of the fleeting nature of all things. It was a strange, beautiful paradox. She reached out, not physically, but with the same inner sense that had guided her on the thread. The chronosynth paused, its shimmering form momentarily solidifying, and a pulse of pure, unadulterated curiosity emanated from it. "You perceive beyond the immediate child of Earth," the chronosynth projected, its voice now tinged with a new resonance, one that bypassed the translators and spoke directly to Elara's soul. "You see the echoes of what was, and the whispers of what will be, a rare gift even here." Elara felt a flush of surprise, then a quiet understanding. Her thread sight was more than just seeing energy. It was a form of temporal and energetic empathy. They were led through corridors that were not corridors, but living pathways that shifted and reformed around them, glowing with soft internal light. It was like walking through the heart of a giant, benevolent organism. They passed through bustling marketplaces, where beings exchanged goods and ideas that defied human comprehension, through serene gardens where alien flora pulsed with gentle light, and past grand auditoriums, where holographic projections flickered with debates in unknown tongues. Their temporary quarters were a wonder in themselves, a spherical chamber that could reconfigure its environment to suit any species. For them, it manifested as a comfortable, Earth-like habitat with soft lighting, familiar gravity, and breathable air, yet the walls shimmered with the confluence's inherent bioluminescence, offering a constant, gentle reminder of their extraordinary location. After a brief period of rest and assimilation, the chronosynths returned to guide them to the Grand Assembly. This was the true heart of the confluence, a vast, open-air amphitheater nestled within a colossal, crystal-like structure that seemed to touch the very edge of the nebula. Countless beings were already gathered, their forms creating a breathtaking tapestry of life and color. At the center of the amphitheater was a raised platform, and towards this, the human delegation was guided. As they ascended, a hush fell over the assembled delegates. Thousands of eyes, optical sensors and energetic fields focused on them. Elara felt the weight of every gaze, the collective consciousness of countless species, all curious, all expectant. A primary chronosynth, even more ancient and stable in its form, floated to the center of the platform. Delegates of the confluence, its voice boomed, resonating through the entire assembly. A ripple of murmurs, a chorus of clicks and hums, spread through the assembly. Captain Rostova stepped forward, her uniform crisp, her bearing regal. On behalf of humanity, I am Captain Eva Rostova. We come in peace, with open minds and open hearts, seeking knowledge, understanding and fellowship. As she spoke, Elara looked out at the sea of alien faces. She saw not just physical differences, but the immense chasm of disparate histories, biologies and philosophies. Yet, she also felt a profound sense of shared sentience, a common thread of curiosity and wonder that bound them all. She sensed an undercurrent of hope, and perhaps a flicker of apprehension. After Captain Rostova's address, questions began to flood in, projected directly into their minds by the chronosynths acting as interpreters. Questions about Earth, about their history, their technology, their motivations. Aris Thorne eloquently explained their scientific advancements, Jax detailed the IA's Aeronaud's engineering marvels, and Eva spoke of humanity's journey, its struggles, its aspirations. But it was Elara who often found herself answering the questions that went beyond facts. "What does it feel like to be human?" asked a being made of swirling stardust. "What is the essence of your love?" inquired a crystalline entity. "What drives your species to explore, despite evident danger?" projected a multi-limbed creature with eyes that seemed to contain entire galaxies. Elara found herself drawing upon her deepest emotions, her connection to the thread, to explain the inexplicable. She spoke of the warmth of a shared laugh, the ache of longing, the quiet beauty of a sunrise, the fierce determination to overcome adversity. She spoke of the human spirit, its resilience, its capacity for both great darkness and boundless light. She felt the assembly absorbing her words, not just intellectually, but emotionally, their diverse forms subtly shifting in response. The initial awe slowly gave way to the practicalities of integration. The humans were granted access to the confluence's vast archives, repositories of knowledge accumulated over eons by countless species. They learned of galactic histories, of cosmic phenomena, of technologies that defied their understanding, and of ancient conflicts that had shaped the very fabric of the universe. Aris Thorne plunged into the archives with the zeal of a scholar, discovering a forgotten library, his every waking moment dedicated to absorbing the sheer volume of information. Jax, equally fascinated, began to study the confluence's organic tech infrastructure, marveling at the seamless integration of biology and engineering. Captain Rostova established diplomatic ties, navigating the complex web of interspecies politics, representing humanity with dignity and shrewdness. Elara, however, found herself drawn to the deeper currents of the confluence. Her unique perception, her connection to the AR thread, allowed her to sense the subtle energetic pathways that ran beneath the surface of this grand nexus. She spent hours in quiet contemplation, feeling the pulse of the confluence, listening to its silent hum. She learned that the confluence was not just a meeting point, but a living repository, a universal consciousness of sorts, constantly evolving, constantly learning. One day, While meditating in a secluded bioluminescent garden, a chronosynth approached her. It was the same one that had first greeted them, its temporal shimmer more defined now. "Elara of Earth," it projected, its voice soft yet resonant. "The confluence has observed your unique abilities, your capacity for deep empathy, your perception of the AR thread's resonance. These are not common, even among those who have long traversed the cosmic pathways. I'm still learning to understand them myself," Elara admitted, looking up at the chronosynth's serene form. "Indeed," the chronosynth responded. "But there are whispers, echoes of a deeper purpose within the confluence, that resonate with your particular gifts. The Grand Nexus is not merely a place of gathering. It is a key, a lock, and a map to something far older, far grander, far grander." Elara felt a thrill of anticipation, a familiar tug in her soul, like the AR thread beckoning her once more. "What do you mean?" The chronosynth's form shimmered, its light coalescing into a more defined shape, almost like a hand reaching out. "The confluence holds the knowledge of the prime weavers, the architects of the AR thread itself. They left behind more than just pathways through the stars. They left a legacy, a final great journey, meant to be undertaken when the universe was ready for its next great step." Elara's heart hammered. A final journey. A journey not just across space but across the very fabric of existence, the chronosynth confirmed. A journey into the heart of the veil, where the deepest secrets of the cosmos reside. The confluence holds the first clues, but the path requires a guide, one who can perceive the true nature of the weaver's design, one who can feel the universe's song. The chronosynth paused, its luminous form gazing at her with an intensity that transcended time. "We believe, Elara, that you may be that guide. The true adventure, it seems, has only just begun to reveal its grandest chapter." The universe, already vast and wondrous, had just expanded infinitely more. The confluence, far from being the destination, was merely the threshold to an even greater mystery, a calling that resonated with every fibre of Elara's being. The journey to the heart of the veil awaited, and Elara, with a renewed sense of purpose and a thrilling blend of apprehension and excitement, knew she was ready to answer. The confluence, a shimmering nexus of light and energy, pulsed with a final, gentle hum, then folded in on itself, not collapsing, but transforming. From its heart, a sleek, iridescent vessel emerged, not built of metal or alloys, but of solidified starlight, its form fluid and ever-changing like captured aurora. This was the vessel of whispers, the true guide for the journey into the veil. It didn't have a cockpit, nor controls in the conventional sense. Instead, a luminous field enveloped Elara as she stepped aboard, merging with her neural pathways, translating her thoughts into navigational impulses. "The veil awaits, navigator." A soft, synthesized voice resonated directly in her mind, a voice that felt as ancient as the stars themselves. It was the confluence itself, now dispersed and residing within the ship's core, its collective wisdom her silent co-pilot. The vessel of whispers surged forward, not through a conventional jump drive, but by subtly altering the very fabric of space around it. Stars stretched into ethereal ribbons, nebulae swirled like cosmic paint on an unseen canvas, and the distant galaxies danced in a slow, majestic waltz. The journey was not about speed, but about perception. Elara saw not just light, but the echoes of ancient civilizations in the cosmic dust, heard the silent symphony of nascent stars, and felt the faint pulse of dark matter weaving through the void. Slowly, majestically, the veil began to reveal itself. It wasn't a nebula, nor a star cluster, but a region where reality itself seemed to fray at the edges. Imagine a colossal, shimmering curtain woven from threads of pure energy, each strand humming with a unique frequency. It pulsed with hues Elara had never seen before, colors that were less about wavelength and more about emotion, resonating with a profound sense of peace and boundless potential. This was the boundary, the cosmic membrane separating the known universe from something else entirely. The vessel of whispers glided towards the veil's shimmering entrance, a spiraling vortex of opalescent light. As they approached, the synthesized voice spoke again. Elara felt no fear, only an overwhelming sense of belonging. As the vessel slipped through the entrance, The universe outside vanished, replaced by an inner cosmos of pure thought. She was no longer in a ship, no longer a distinct entity, but a single shimmering point of awareness floating in an ocean of interconnected minds. This was the heart of the veil, not a physical location, but a boundless collective intelligence, a repository of every thought, every dream, every discovery ever made across countless sentient species throughout all time. Images flooded her mind, not as visions, but as direct experiences. She witnessed the birth of stars, felt the joy of a species achieving interstellar travel for the first time, tasted the bittersweet despair of a dying world, and understood the intricate dance of quantum particles shaping reality. It was a torrent of existence, overwhelming yet perfectly harmonious, each thread of consciousness contributing to a tapestry of universal truth. Within this boundless sea, Elara found her own consciousness expanding, stretching beyond the confines of her body, her planet, her galaxy. She saw the confluence as merely one of many such thresholds, each designed by a benevolent ancient intelligence to guide nascent civilizations towards this grand convergence. The guide wasn't a being, but the echo of an intention, an invitation. Then, a singular, pure thought emerged from the symphony, focusing on Elara. It wasn't a voice, but an understanding profound and simple. You were never alone. All things are connected, and the universe is a living, breathing entity, constantly dreaming, constantly evolving. Yeah, Elara understood. The grandest chapter wasn't a hidden artifact or a lost civilization to be found. It was the realization that the universe itself was the ultimate adventure, an endless narrative of interconnected lives, all contributing to a single magnificent story. Her purpose wasn't to conquer or to claim, but to listen, to learn, and to contribute her own unique thread to this cosmic tapestry. A wave of profound peace washed over her. The anxieties, the uncertainties, the loneliness she had sometimes felt on her long journeys dissolved into the vastness of this shared consciousness. She was a part of something immeasurably grand, yet utterly intimate. Slowly, gently, the ocean of consciousness began to recede, coalescing around her, shaping itself back into the shimmering form of the vessel of whispers. She found herself back within its luminous field, the opalescent vortex of the veil's entrance now behind them, the familiar, yet now profoundly altered, stars twinkling once more in the distance. The journey back was different. Elara saw the cosmos with new eyes, not just as a collection of celestial bodies, but as a living, breathing organism. Every star, every planet, every sentient being was a cell in this grand design. Her mission, she realized, wasn't to discover the universe's secrets, but to share its wonder, to foster connection, and to remind others that they, too, were part of this magnificent, ongoing dream. The vessel of whispers brought her back to the confluence, which had reformed into its familiar welcoming hub. As she stepped out, the starlight vessel dissolved into motes of pure energy, returning to the universal consciousness it had emerged from. Elara stood there, her feet once again on solid ground, but her spirit soaring amongst the stars. She looked up at the vast stardusted sky, no longer seeing an empty expanse, but a vibrant, interconnected web of life and thought. The universe, still boundless, no longer felt alien or daunting. It felt like home. Elara knew her journey wasn't over. It had simply transformed. She would continue to explore, to learn, and to share, but now with a deep understanding of her place within the cosmic dance. And as she drifted off to sleep that night, under the gentle glow of a simulated starlit ceiling, she carried the silent symphony of the heart of the veil within her, a lullaby of interconnected existence, promising endless wonder with every new dawn. The universe, she knew, was always ready to whisper its next grand chapter, and she was finally ready to truly listen.